Hello and welcome to Oink Time Pod.
Hello, I'm Ben Ellwood.
Hello, I'm Jen Carnovale.
And there is a palpable tension in the room.
So, today we are talking to Suren Jayemanne. He is a comedian. We talk all things moolah, money. We're going to talk about money.
Oh, and a lot of things. Eugenics kind of creeps into it a little bit as well.
We're not talking about eugenics. I'm not going to feature heavily.
Money with a light frosting of eugenics.
I'm not going to feature heavily in this podcast because Sean will edit me out. But that's
Jen had a bad day.
Edit me out, Sean.
I'm not editing.
It's about money. Oh, if you want to contact us at Oink Time Pod on Twitter.
Cool. And now.
Oh, Young Henry's is a sponsor of the podcast, and I blame them for lots of stupid things we've said.
And now,
they
money.
No, wait. They're a great brewery.
They are a great brewery.
In the Inner West. And they're an Australian brewery, and they make beer.
Thanks for the growlers, fellas. Guys, here we go with Suren and money. And eugenics. No, you become like were you? How long did you have to do comedy for before you started feeling like you could talk in? Like, did you like when I first
Born
started?
with it, mate.
Yeah, fuck you. Like when I first, before I ever did comedy, I thought, I'll practice like ranting and raving into a.
I
camera.
could never practice.
Yeah, see, I couldn't.
The lamest thing.
Oh, it was fucking 2004. Leave me alone. It was like so long ago. But I thought if I just did that. But yeah, like it gave me this false sense of my own shitness.
Yeah.
Because I couldn't do it.
Yeah. It's better to just ignore it.
Yeah. But like, did it take you ages to be able to talk into a microphone without feeling self-conscious that you were being recorded or listened to?
Not really. I don't know what, I was pretty, I guess I was naive and I didn't worry about it at all.
That's so nice.
I just did one-liners as well. I wasn't saying anything important when I was, not that
But
I do
I felt
now,
the same.
but
Like I was kind of like.
I've never said anything important.
Oh yeah, none of us have. Yeah, no, but I felt the same. Where I was just kind of like, on the scheme of things, I was worried about how I sounded in the microphone was so.
No, not necessarily like the sound of
Minor.
your voice. It was more just the like. You know, I guess anyone that gets into comedy or music or whatever, like you have like an idea of what you're capable of, like what you can deliver when you're firing at your best.
Yeah.
And for me, for a lot of the time in the early days, and even now, it's like the knowledge of that level can be paralyzing because if it's anything under that, you start shitting all over yourself internally.
That's interesting because that's the whole thing of like, it's all just ego.
Yeah, of course.
It's all like, you know,
You've got pressure to
reaching-
deliver.
Yeah.
Like your
To your
expectations.
standards.
Yeah. And you realize the
your
audience is
own-
it's your own brain.
Yeah.
But you're not afraid of them. You're afraid of you and having to live with the death for the rest of the
Or
night.
That's what's
reaching
so
your
weird,
own
though.
potential, which is just ego.
Yeah.
Which we all have, but you
Yeah.
know what I mean.
Well, like I don't think you wouldn't do it unless you had some sort of ego, like that delusion is that what takes you there, but then also cripples you, and
Totally.
But I never had like a specific thing to reach like that. The way you talk about it, Ben, is so like outside of. Like I was just kind of like, if I remember the lines and I don't fuck it up heaps, then it'll be fine. Like I didn't aspire to a specific standard, but I think I just didn't even really know what I was doing. I didn't think I was doing stand up for the first.
No,
while.
you were doing characters and, you know.
Just chatting, trying to connect to another human, really. Anyone here sad? Woo! I'm twitchy tonight, by the way, Suren, just letting you know. So I'm okay with it, but I just warning Ben
You'll be
as well.
fine.
Be
Just
kind
chug
to
that
me.
fucking beer. Drink out of the growler. We got to get all this. I want
And
to
if
keep that as a
you-
candle holder.
Oh, thank you, Young Henrys, for the bevies.
Yes.
Suren,
Yes.
this is our comfort pig. Feel
Okay.
free to grab it when needed.
yeah, cool. I feel like you'll be holding it for most of the time.
Not holding it, clutching it to her breast.
What a disgusting background sound.
Yeah, sorry, I'm a bit nasally today. The hay fever.
Oh, man.
Damn allergies.
Did you, when did you, like, you're an accountant, right?
Yeah.
That sounded so accusatory. You're an accountant, right?
Someone
Like you're
said, I think
educated.
it was you the other day. Someone said to me the other day that I'm incapable of asking a question that doesn't sound accusatory.
Yeah.
I
Like
said
it's all,
it, and then
like
you
really
yelled at
fucking.
me.
Well,
There's some judgment in every question.
Is that for me? Do you find that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's just the tone.
I think it's like, I don't know. I think it's a definite defense mechanism. It's like this kind of like.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know, but it is common. Someone was laughing at me the other night about it as well.
I said it to you and you got really angry at me. I think it was I don't know where we were. We were in like a social setting during the day, so it's magnified. You know, everything is a bit stranger during the day. And someone was like, oh, you know, I went here, and you were like, you went there. And you clearly were just like, I could see like, oh, he's just trying to engage with another human, but he's fucked it right up, you know, like, and they're like,
Sometimes it breaks the ice. Sometimes having a fucking a tonal shift that isn't just like, so when did you get into comedy, Suren? Like, you know, see, we're having a conversation about something.
It feels more natural.
Yeah.
Yeah. But is there ever the judgment, is it ever loaded, or is it just that your voice is burdened with?
No, it is. I'm a really judgmental fucking guy.
Yes.
Like not long term.
Yeah, right.
You know, like if we had a conversation. What do you mean?
You beg to differ.
No. Like, you know, like, okay, so I've got a prejudice in my mind about accounting.
Yeah,
I just do.
Yeah.
Like,
What's wrong with accounting?
Well, you know, there's the cliche of accountants are boring
My
or that
brother's
it's
an
a
accountant.
boring life. You know, every time I see my accountant, he's like a very lovely guy, but he's clearly burdened by the choices that he made.
As if you're not.
No. But I don't fucking say it to strangers. I'll say it to my friends or on a podcast where it's going out into strangers. But, you know, this is the medium of performance. Like, every year I sit down with him, he's like, yeah, g'day, Ben. You're doing comedy? Yeah, I'm still here. Pressing calculator numbers, still.
Yeah.
You know, but you got to do it. I got a mortgage. I got a kid.
Clearly what's happening here is he feels your judgment.
Do you think that's what it is?
Yes.
I think so. He wouldn't be saying that to all his clients.
Yeah, because my
think-
accountant is like, so if you get your shit together, you'll be able to own as many properties as me, as rich as me. Like, he's like loving life.
No, this guy's profoundly regretful of his decisions. And
I think you've just found your soulmate in an accountant.
Yeah.
stuck in a feedback loop of regret. Yeah, right. No. So when I ask the question, yeah, of course, there's like a prejudge. I think that I just have a voice that can't lie. And it doesn't mean that if we talked for 2 minutes and you were like, no, I really love accounting, I would then click into this, oh, sick.
Yeah,
but
so you can be persuaded.
Yeah, of course. But I don't know how to hide
Like
the
a bulldog.
tone. Is that what bulldogs do?
Aggressive, but can get cuddly.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I think it's all just like self-reflexively pushing my judgment of my own self outwards.
Yeah. No, but I think it's fair. I'm totally very self-conscious about, like, because if I'm at a party or I meet someone new, I don't really want to say that I do comedy straight away.
No, definitely not.
But then all that's left is, it happens a lot in taxis, and if I'm getting a haircut, they always ask, like, what do you do? And I'm like, oh, I don't want to say comedy. I definitely don't want to say accounting. So a lot of the time at hairdressers, I'm just improvising. That's how I practice improv.
Well, I've been writing freelance.
But what is that? Like, because I have the same thing. It's
I
like
go to hairdressers who don't speak English.
see, that's the
I
solution.
just show them a picture and they're like, that's
Did I
it.
tell you what happened to me at the hairdressers a few weeks ago?
I think so, but you should tell Suren.
This is so fucked up, man.
The Turkish hairdresser?
Yeah, the Turkish hairdresser. This is so fucked up. I've been going to see this barber for 5 years in Petersham, and he's a pretty funny. Like I like his purity of being. Like he's just very himself, and he doesn't hide his shit. So the first time I sat down and I took my hat off. And when I only get a haircut once every 3 months, so by the time I'm getting it done, I look insane because my hair's all like Beethoven-y and sticking out like Yahoo Serious, but with like a mo through the fucking middle. And I sit down, and he literally just goes, "Oh no, this is terrible. This is tragedy. You young man, this is very bad. Why this happened to you?"
That's flattering in a way.
Yeah. And I'm like cracking up, like laughing. And he's like, why you let go so long? It's so long. No, you go to Turkey. They fix you. They're this bad. And he's been for years been trying to convince me to go to Turkey to get a hair transplant. And he's gone to Turkey and had a hair transplant. And with all due respect, it looks like shit.
Yeah,
it looks
of course
like
it
fucking.
does.
There's a few wispy strands coming out the top of his head, and he's like, "You'll see, they do for me. It look good." And I'm like, "Yeah, and it's not so good." And then so we've had this a relationship of sorts, and I thought that I knew him, not knew him, but knew his character very well. And we're sitting there whatever, 2 months ago. It was just before I went to New York, and it was like the day before I was leaving. So I needed the fucking haircut. I didn't have time, so I went up to him. I sit down, and he's literally done half of my head. So half of my head is normal, and the other half is long,
Yahoo serious.
Yahoo serious. And he goes, "So where do you go on holiday?" And I go, "Oh, I'm going to America." And he goes, "America?" And I'm like, "Yeah, America." And he goes, "I don't like America." And I go, "Why not?" And he goes, "Too many black. Too many black. Dirty blacks, too many of them." And I'm like sitting there like frozen, like staring at my reflection in the mirror. And it's like, what is the fucking protocol? Like if it's a cab, you can be like, "Hey man, that's not cool.
Yeah,
pull over. I'm getting out." But
This
I'm
guy's
like,
got scissors.
he's got scissors, and I'm halfway through. I like, you know what I mean? It's like you realize your morality has a line where it's like, well, I've at least got to let him finish cutting my hair. Like I'll never,
Before I give him a piece of
I'll never come back. But like, sure, continue cutting my hair, racist barber. But it was like such a weird moral conundrum where it's like I didn't even know how I hadn't been like faced with that kind of overt racism where it's just like it's almost like a child saying it or something. Like it's so like, you know what I mean?
I think that's something people forget when they talk about like I think you and I did it, Suren. There was a gig a while ago basically for a charity to the whole point of the charity was to give people tools to use in exact moments like that, Ben.
Yeah.
So a racist situation occurs and you have the tools to then say, "Hey, Suren, that's fucked. And we can be mates, but you're going to have to change your tune." Like, that's the whole thing. And it's such a good idea. But then when it's in practice, I think if you're not a racist person, the shock of experience an actual racist moment, you sort of do that thing in your brain where you're like, are they joking? No. Did they say? Did he say? He did. Okay.
I still think
How do I? And it's like, it takes a moment because it's not in your world.
The client-barber relationship changes the whole dynamic.
That's exactly
There's
what it
no
was.
tool for that.
That's exactly what it was. Because if it
It's
was,
easier as a dude. If he's shaving your head,
no.
he's not
But
styling it.
I have blown up at
Yeah.
people on the bus before for being racist, and in cabs before going like, that's a shit opinion.
Yeah.
But it was such a not a delicate situation but it's like. I don't know. My head is half shorn. I can't stop.
Finish the haircut.
Finish the haircut.
You're very vulnerable as well. You've got the little coat on around your neck, and
Finish the haircut and then go, "I don't pay racist," and run out.
Ah, very good.
that could be
That
If
could have
you
been the
chose
way.
If he's put the
your
scissors
accountant would have
down.
liked that as
Yeah.
well. So.
If I wasn't such an enabler, that's exactly what I would have done.
It's
But
pretty
it was
scary.
It was the way he said it. It was so like there was no. Like obviously,
'Cause there's no shame
obviously,
attached.
it's a malicious statement, but there was no malice in his tone. It was just this matter of fact, like, of course, you're not Skype dirty black. I'm like, whoa, man! Like,
Yeah, it's so
fuck.
fucked up.
Yeah,
Yeah, I miss that kind of like just
overt racism.
yeah. But it's so deep set. It's laughable because it's like
Well, it's almost comical because
well, I'm not
it's
going to
so
change
insane.
your mind.
yeah, and it's like there's something like.
But you're not going to do anything about it, so it's not really. You're just not going to go to America. That's not that.
Yeah.
Probably doing America a favor.
But that's a sticky fucking thing to think about because it's true. I think there is. I don't know. Fuck. I don't even know if I want to talk about it because it's so fucking like it's like a landmine.
It is a landmine, yeah.
But it's like I think you're right. I think there's a type of racist where it's just like, is there any point even really getting into a thing with you?
Yeah.
And that's not to say, don't say anything. Like, I think he could tell from my face that I wasn't on board. It's not like we then proceeded down the road of elaborating on his opinions and why they were valid to him. Like, he cut it off there and went on to something else.
Yeah.
He talked about you going back to Turkey to fix your
Yeah,
hair.
you fix you.
If you're white.
But, yeah, like, I don't know what would have been achieved.
Yeah, that's what
if we
it,
had
I
an
think it is.
intervention. It's like,
Because you like you got to save up your credits almost. I think.
Yeah.
Like you pick your battles is a
It's
better way to
so
express
much
it.
easier if it's like someone who just clearly doesn't know that what they've said is a bit wrong.
Yeah.
It's so much easier to be like, oh, actually, that can mean. Whereas if someone's outright is being like, they're fucked, it's like, well, what chance do you have?
but also it's just
Probably
like, it's
still
these
try, I
ingrained
guess.
opinions. Like, I think
I'd find that scary.
my grandpa didn't like Chinese people, and this guy was in a fucking concentration camp during the Holocaust.
Yeah.
And he just had like whatever. He just had, and I remember as a
Yeah, my
teenager.
grandpa had some interesting views. Not on Chinese people, but
What
others.
demographic didn't your grandfather like?
Oh, a few different ones. Wasn't a fan of Russians.
Oh, yeah. Isn't that like war related?
Yeah. But he also wasn't a fan of Jewish people because he said that the Jews who flipped were like the most violent and stuff.
The capos.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true.
And so he was scared because he was like, they do really evil shit. And I was like, what's he saying? And Mum would be like, go make French toast. And that would be it.
But that's the thing. When the racism is a response to
And
some
then I'd be like,
traumatic
"Okay."
event, it's like, how do you crack that?
Yeah. And you don't.
I don't know.
guess.
Yeah, it's
Well, I
just
mean,
like...
his children, like my mum and her siblings, none of them are racist. Although my mum did say that when I was younger, she was like, you can date whoever you want, just not Russians. So there's that. She never told me why. I just thought she had dated a bad Russian person. I was like, oh, when mum was
It was
16.
intergenerational racism, not individual.
Yeah, then I got older and I figured it out. And I was like, oh, okay.
Was there ever an inclination to? Was it like the reverse psychology kind of?
Yeah,
thing?
of
Did you-
course. Because I was like, Russia, mysterious. Huh? Stay away from them, you say. What is it, their cheekbones or blonde hair?
If my mom thinks it's bad, it must be good.
You are a badass.
How do we get on to racist barbers?
You talk
and...
about your barber.
Yeah, no. How do we get to that? Because we were going off on something completely different before that.
I don't know.
Accounting.
Yes.
Aggressive. Me being aggressive, asking you about accounting.
True.
So, when you started doing accounting, it was like an intergenerational thing? Was it just like you didn't know what else to do?
Yeah,
and
it
you
was
just
traumatic.
fucking-
Is that what you're saying? My dad was in finance, and my brother's a lawyer, and it was just kind of like I was good at maths at school. Went to uni. I think I was planning to study law, but I didn't get the grades to do it. And then I thought, I'll do commerce and transfer into law after a year. And then I just didn't like. I was like, I don't even like doing commerce. Why would I extend it for another 2 years or whatever? So I just always knew that I'd try stand up, and I thought in the meantime I'll try get a job that pays pretty well that I can do.
That's so smart and forward thinking for a comedian.
No, but he was an accountant first.
No, but he always knew he wanted to try stand up.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I sort of did. Like it was a dream, but I didn't really know anything about how to do it or
but
whether it
that's
was
still-
realistic.
Yeah.
That's still forward
Probably
planning.
when I got into accounting, I did think that's what I would do forever. Probably.
Accounting.
Yeah.
What's that like?
I mean, it's pretty.
It's a job
it's
where you
weird.
get paid well and there's a future.
Yeah, but I don't know. Like,
Yeah.
I stay.
Do you hate numbers?
Well, I that's what I was going to ask you
'Cause
about
I-
numbers
yeah,
because
I
I don't.
love
I don't.
numbers.
I wish I understood numbers.
Do you say you love it or you don't?
I love numbers.
Yeah, right.
They make sense. It's like cracking a code.
Yeah, see, no,
it's so
but I'm
satisfying.
not. I don't have a logical head, so
and
math
also,
numbers are weird
I love,
to me.
I mean, like, this is just probably from my dad and mum, but I love being like, this is the nerd within me, but like, if you do this, in 5 years, this will be this much. Like, seeing how you can, like,
Yes.
cheat the system and do little cheeky things to make more money or cut money in areas and stuff. I get very satisfied from that.
Do you see maths everywhere?
He's not autistic, man.
No, I'm not, but like if I imagine if you have like a very good understanding of numbers, you see the world differently. As anyone, someone that's good at art would see the world differently. Anyone that's good at
I like numbers. Do you think I see the world
but you're not a
differently
fucking.
to you?
Oh please, what are you fucking 1 + 1? You're not a fucking accountant.
No, but just because you're an accountant, my brother's an accountant, but that
No, but
doesn't mean
I
he
would-
walks
I would-
around going, "Oh,
I'm not
this
saying.
is great."
I'm not saying it's like a beautiful mind. I'm saying
You're totally
I'm
painting
saying-
that picture.
I'm saying if you're a person that understands physics, that would no doubt color the way you see reality. When you're walking down the street and you see a ball bouncing and you understand, the math behind what's happening.
Chris does
you're
talk
seeing
a lot about weight distribution in
exactly.
buildings.
So I'm not so stupid.
Yeah, but I guess it's been 2 years since I was in the office. I think.
Already?
Yeah, it's gone
That
pretty
went
quick.
quick.
I'm pretty scared actually that I'll have to go
Why?
back.
Oh,
'Cause
to
he
go
doesn't
back.
work.
Yeah.
Yeah. right.
Yeah.
Are you just doing
Full-time.
comedy?
Yeah, it's unemployed with a hobby pretty much at the moment. Like I've saved up money and it's growing slowly,
How
but
do
I do.
How do you fill the days?
Writing and sort of. It took me a long time to get efficient, but
Yeah,
now I
yeah,
think
yeah.
I'm pretty good.
Yeah.
Could be better.
Do you
but-
do that like Jerry Seinfeld, like I am sitting down to do my work style
sort of.
approach. I think that's the only way to do it.
Yeah. And it does get easier once you train yourself.
Yeah, right.
Scares me too much. I don't think I'm disciplined enough.
No, I
think
can't do it.
I'm improving the discipline part of it, but I'm not improving at the actual effectiveness yet.
Yeah,
but it's slowly getting there. I don't know.
Yeah.
But it's because I guess that's the benefit of having worked 9 to 5 is I know that that's what's waiting for me if I don't like pull my finger. Kind of
Do you miss having money?
Sort of. It's more because I'm
got a dream now.
Yeah, I know, but I have a dream, but I like money. So I've tried to combine both quite unsuccessfully.
I was
but-
never. I feel like
well.
I'm a kind of jack of all trades. So I was an accountant, but I don't know if I was a numbers like autist. I don't know if I'm good at like language, but I don't think I was ever an English genius or whatever. I think I was just good at a bit of everything.
Yeah.
And so money is like I don't necessarily manage it super well either. People are surprised. People think that I'd have all these tricks and tips, but I'm kind of just like
Go with the flow. Man, I do not have that.
No.
From every aspect of my upbringing, it was like, save every penny, the whole time. Like, I remember we cleaned out Nonna's house and there was like, she'd kept margarine containers that she'd washed out from like the last 50 fucking years. Like nothing is thrown out. Like everything is saved. And the guilt.
There's always there's a purpose for everything.
Oh, the guilt.
No, but
like
that's very environmentally conscious. You know, that's like ahead of the times.
Yeah, my mum's a greenie, but money-wise, though, it's like I don't spend money without feeling guilty ever.
Yeah, I'm the same. I used to be so bad with money, and I've recently, like in maybe the last 4 years, I started learning how to save, and I've become like. I need to find a middle ground because I've gone from being completely blasé to like fixated, like checking my accounts every day and knowing exactly how much. And it's so funny.
I know how much interest I'll get at the end of the month.
Does it feel good for you when it's going up?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Like, well, because I've never had money. Like I'm moving at the moment, and it's so nice to be able to buy a new fridge, pay the movers, do all that stuff. And yeah, it's like it's a chunk of money that 5 years ago would have been like, this is fucked, like I'm going into debt. Whereas now it's just like, it's fine.
Yeah.
It's just coming off a pile. But it's this weird thing with, and it's not a massive pile, but it's more money than I've ever had. But it's funny. I'm finding this reverse effect of, you know, I always thought that if I had, you know, whatever, a few $1,000s in the bank, I would be more blasé with money, but it turns you more into you turn into a fucking miser.
Yeah. You become Scrooge.
It's so fucked up, right? I've got more than I've ever had, and I know I'm going to get the lunch special for $6, not $8. Like, but it's
I've
really...
gone over that hump. So when I was younger, the guilt to spend money was mental, but now if I do spend money, I don't care. So if I'm going to buy lunch, I'll just buy what I want.
I've divvied it all up. Like I'm allowed to spend gig money on nice things.
I do that. I spend, it
has to be fun bucks.
If I book a holiday, it's like, gig money will book the holiday. Or like gig money will buy some stupid, ridiculous, expensive shoes or something. Yeah, I do a bit of that
That's
too.
pretty smart, I think. I got asked to do this thing for like a bank.
Like a corporate gig?
Or like a little video for social media for them.
Oh, I saw that!
And they were, but they asked me because they were like, oh, he's a comedian. And like we always ask the finance people and they're so boring. Or we ask an actor and they don't know what the fuck they're talking about. So they thought that I would have the best of both worlds. And then they emailed me and they're like, these are the questions. We just want you to talk to camera about them, try to be funny and give good advice. And I was like, I don't know any of this shit. I listened to like a few millennial money podcasts and just lifted all their ideas. And
nice.
And all the ideas that you're talking about, that's great. You got to have a separate account, use your gig money for...
Yeah.
Treat money.
Yeah, have treat money, but have a savings that's slowly growing as well.
Dude, I've got like a separate account just to build tax, like for when tax time comes, I don't have to take it out of my savings. It's like a separate account just for the tax money.
Yeah.
But I never, like, it's so, like I can feel middle age encroaching. Just this
I've been like this with money since I was young.
Yeah, see, I never
My
was.
parents, even when they had money, all my siblings and I laugh about how we, growing up, thought we never had money. You know how people grow up and they live above their means? My family, the entire time, below.
I was the same.
entire time. I don't know if it's like a WOG thing or...
It could be, or just an immigrant thing.
I think it's a traumatized race thing.
It could be
like it could all fall apart at any minute.
Yeah, that's the attitude though, is like, you know, it's almost stupid to go and spend that on this because...
My dad, like he had a real good job. And
But you had no idea, right?
no,
Financially.
he sent. I
Same.
knew only because he sent 3 kids to private school, so I had an idea that he
tweets.
was that
I
he was
only
making
knew
enough.
older because same with my siblings. There was 5 of us that went to a private school, but my sister and I got partial scholarships because of like dance related stuff. So I was just like, oh, and my brother. This is how out of touch I was. My brother went to a cheap private school, so couldn't have been.
Yeah.
And then you're an adult and you're like, how did you achieve all
I
of
know,
this?
yeah.
What
Like-
wizardry did you?
So I got I think a half scholarship or something, but all my friends, because it was like a private school, they were all fucking
Yeah.
huge houses. Their parents had 2
Yeah.
cars.
And they own their money. Like they're like, I've got money.
Yeah, so I always thought we were just not that well off. Because
Yeah.
I was like, oh, look at that's wealth. But it was just my dad he was saving it all, and he was like smart, and then he instilled in us like, oh, you got to save your money for a
I think
rainy
I
day.
think I think if
I
there's
think it's a good quality.
well, I think if there's been trauma or transition in the lineage, there's
Yeah.
when my grandpa died, we found $1,000 hidden under his bed because
Aw.
he was to the day he died convinced that if the shit hit the fan again,
He'd need a
Yeah.
American
US currency
cash.
would be the one currency that would still be stable.
yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, and it was this, it was just there just in case,
There's a mattress shop on South Dowling Road called the Foam World or
Yeah,
some
yeah.
shit like that. It always looks like it's been ransacked, and I always just wonder whether people are like, there's definitely money under those mattresses.
There's gold.
But so my dad was an actuary, which means he was like a fucking numbers genius. He was a numbers genius, and
Yeah, cool.
he would work out the probabilities of different shit happening so that insurance
Sick.
companies could charge the proper premium.
Yeah, right.
So like his job was to work out how likely it is you're going to die based on your lifestyle. So I think that's why he's super conservative, because he knows the risk of everything.
Man, that would be fucking
That's
paralyzing.
so
Yeah.
interesting.
He's like,
yeah,
if
it would
you-
be
yeah.
paralyzing, yeah. But it's interesting.
Today's a Wednesday and it's 22 degrees. If you go out, you will die. Right? He knows. He knows.
Did he instill that in you guys? Like, was he like, son?
I only registered recently that's probably why he was so. But he
Conservative.
was very like, yeah. Both my parents were very protective, very like.
He's like, don't do comedy.
Bubble
Way
boy
more
kinda.
likely of drinking.
What are they-
Yeah,
yeah,
I mean,
what
I
are they-
didn't
what
tell
are-
them straight away.
What do they think of you quitting a well-paying, stable job to pursue a life in the carnival?
They sort of, I think they're relaxing now because like probably being on the ABC helped to add a bit of legitimacy
Were you
to
on
it.
Tonightly?
I did Next Gen.
Oh, yeah, great. Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, so that
Yeah.
that helped.
Isn't
I
it
think we're
weird
still-
that fucking these things that are very cool, but they are just kind of like notches on a belt. But to a certain generation who grew up with TV, it's like a big
Yeah.
fucking deal.
I mean,
Yeah,
because my
well-
dad always says to me, he's like, why don't you just like go get a job at the ABC?
Yeah, yeah.
If this is
All of a sudden, it's legitimized because, yeah.
just walk in, just walk in there.
Yeah.
Give him your resume.
I think my mum for so many years was just like, oh yeah, but, Ben does comedy. And then when she found out that I'd had a beer with Fiona O'Loughlin, it was suddenly like,
yeah.
you met Fiona O'Loughlin. I'm like, yeah, like at a gig. Like, it's no
Aw.
big deal.
So-
but suddenly that meant something. When we had Akmal on the podcast, that was like, whoa, that fucking, and it's like, it's not that it doesn't mean anything.
I also was like that when you had alcohol.
He was the fuck. He's such a sweet guy.
Yeah, he's a legend.
What a fucking
My mum
cool
was
dude.
really cute. She was excited about all of it. When I was like, I'm going to Hobart, she was like, oh, Jennifer, that's lovely. Like, she's
Oh,
pumped about
that's
that.
Nice.
Yeah, she doesn't really.
It's so,
She's
I mean,
pumped about it all.
it's very hard to explain the whole idea of it though to people who don't do it. So it's like,
course.
so especially from their perspective, they
Comedy.
just- yeah, it's just I don't really want to talk about it because they would just have no idea what. Like,
Yeah.
they're like, oh, are you getting paid for every gig now?
Yeah.
yeah.
In drink tokens.
You have-
Sure.
yeah.
Oh, yeah. In conversation.
Yeah. How long have you been doing it now?
7 or 8 years there. Yeah.
And 2 full time.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you're better from doing it full time?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, just because you can say yes to every opportunity, and then from that more stuff comes.
You don't have to hesitate and be like,
Yeah.
do I have leave?
This year, or like the last sort of 6 months, every time I'm like, maybe I should start to think about getting a job.
Why though?
Something will happen, and I'm like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
It feels like I'm in the right
Just
path.
because of like having some like a toe in an industry?
Yeah, I think, well, that's what I'm nervous about, is like the longer I'm away, the bigger the hole is on the resume when you're interviewing.
Yeah, that's true.
But you can always spin some shit. And I also have the benefit.
That's right.
I've like all my friends who I started accounting with are like, they'll be partners in a couple of years, which is very beneficial. Yeah. Yeah.
I like numbers again.
Yeah.
I'll photocopy.
Yeah.
Let me in. Yeah, actually, that's pretty sweet.
Have you guys, like, did you guys have like a plan or some shit?
No.
I
It's
think
like,
comedy,
no.
I think as soon as you start thinking about it rationally, I would quit. If I thought about like it, the freakiest thing to me is there's no end game. There's no like exit.
No, there's
like
no-
you
there's
don't
no end
retire
game.
or there's no
I thought you were going to say
superannuation.
exit strategy. I was like,
Yeah.
Jesus.
I was, and I cut it off. But
Well, and it's just
No.
this constant kind of like appeal to relevance.
I've had short-term plans.
Yeah,
but
no,
I've never,
I'm talking
I've
about
never
like your
had
life
long-
plan when you were
No.
20 and you're like, I want to. This is how it goes.
I was amazed and am still at 35 at the people who in high school had such clarity about what they were studying at uni.
Yeah.
I remember looking at them like they were foreign objects.
Yeah.
Like people who were just like, oh, I'm going to study sciences, or I'm going to do a BA and then I'm going to do this. And they might as well have been speaking Spanish. Like I was just like, how do you know?
How many-
I don't know what I want to do tomorrow. Like the concept of thinking and planning that far ahead to me was so overwhelming.
Like
It
how
still
many of
is.
those people do you reckon are actually happy with?
I think they're like they've
Like, has the
satisfied
dream-
a part of them, and I think as comics we underestimate the joy people receive from stability and comfort.
Yeah, I think
And so
yeah.
I think
I
a
agree
lot
with
of
that.
people, a lot of people's happiness is the stability of the job that they find okay, and the income that they would like to achieve, and finding a loved one and, you know, ticking off whatever goals they personally have can be enough for people. And that's not a bad thing. That's a really healthy thing. And I don't think everybody's like that. Like, I don't mean to sound arrogant, like, oh, they're simple people, because I think it's very normal. But I think one thing that seems to unify a lot of comics is just this constant feeling of being unsatisfied. And I think not everybody in life enjoys that feeling or indulges it as much as
don't
comedians
agree.
do.
I don't agree. I believe that comedians
Really?
indulge it more, but I think that a lot of people feel deeply unsatisfied.
Yes, yeah, definitely. But I also know a lot of people who like their life, who like that they have a full-time job in an industry that they wanted to and have a flat in an area they like, and, you know, they plan their 3 holidays a year. They work out when their public holidays are.
I always think about this when I
have a lot of joy from that.
go to the Crow's Nest Hotel to do that gig.
You know what's so weird? I was thinking of mates who live in Crow's Nest.
Yeah, they're probably
serious.
at the gig. I look at them, those people, and I'm like, they're like this. They don't know how much I'm hating this because they don't care. They're happy. They're so happy. This is like their Wednesday night or whatever. This is an insignificant night to them.
Yeah.
But it's still the part of their life that, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't think everyone's as... I think people are unsatisfied with elements of their life because we're human, but I don't think people
I think a
feel-
lot of people buy a ticket to a ride that is great for a while, and then circumstances are such that they must stay on that ride maybe longer than they want to be on it.
There was
and
a-
I think that is I think that is the story. It's just definitely the story for a lot of people I know who went different route that I knew when I was younger.
Yeah,
That
right.
kind of got on the, you know, house, family,
stability
thing. And it's like, again, like, I would love to be wired like that to even really want that, but I don't. But they really wanted it. And I think when you really want something, it can build up an expectation of it's going to make me feel whole. And then maybe it doesn't. And then what do you do?
Yeah.
Like, well, what now?
Is it kind of that tyranny of choice thing? Like,
exactly.
Like, because I feel in my life, my biggest tension is comfort. Because I got it very comfortable. I'm pretty lucky in terms of my upbringing and stuff. And then, being able to get a good job without having to work too hard.
Yeah.
I could have just coasted in that job. I have a good relationship. We live in a nice apartment. Everything outside of comedy is like
Going good.
Yeah, the like if you look at it on paper, that's a good life. I could just go the comfortable route, and it's so tempting. But then, it's just knowing, the regret, the possibility of regret, Whereas like back in the day, I guess you just. Well, if you go far enough back, like caste system or whatever, or you're just born into your caste or you're born into your role. I don't know, might not be satisfying, but you're not tortured by that.
Yeah, do you think that life would, or just that consciousness would have been a more peaceful place to be in back then, where it was just like, look, I'm born on a farm, and my father was a farmer, and my father's father was a farmer, and I'm just going to be a farmer.
I think sometimes because you know how like in the West, and particularly in like Australia, US, more affluent countries, there is that social activism where sometimes it gets very nitpicky, and I think like, is this really that important? Like, are you fighting a fight that actually is insignificant to the people you think you're fighting it on behalf? If that makes sense.
And it diminishes the thing that's actually important.
Yeah,
the nitpicking.
But the people in like, I don't know, India who are working class or lower than that, they're not concerned with this at all. They're just trying to make ends meet. They're just trying to.
Well,
I've said it before. No widow in Mumbai has been offended by the use of the word bitch. Like, it's just there's other priorities. And I think
we
a lot
don't
of
have time to be offended.
Well, and a lot of the nitpicking comes from lack of having to worry about a lot of other much more vital
I sort of only started to become more interested in social issues and worldly things after I stopped working and started doing a comedy. Or like
do you think that's because you had
I was still
more
at
time?
work, but I stopped trying. Yeah. So I had time. Yeah, it's because I had time. So I understand why people who are occupied and actually applying themselves in their job, they're not thinking about any of that stuff.
You're seeing that happening with all the elections that are happening all over the world. It's like, those of us that are in the kind of, inner city left-wing arts bubble are just like, how could these racists and these fucking animals vote for these? And it's like, I don't know that there can't be that many heinous right-wing racists. I think they're just all fucking busy, and they don't have time to, go through the minutiae of the news, and they see a few fucking ads that are very effective, and it's like, we're very, the most intelligent people in the world are very easily manipulated and swayed, to say nothing of just the general fucking populace.
Yeah, who are not paying attention.
Who are not paying attention.
And nor should they have to, really.
And especially when you're talking about stuff like global warming, it's like, they need to change they need to change the words climate change. It needs to be rebranded. I don't know what it should be, but those words have so much loaded fucking weight to them now. It's just counterproductive.
Yeah, it's too much of a debate.
It's such an
now.
abstract kind of concept of like, I mean, I even find myself thinking that, like, that thing about the extinction wave came out, and it was, I sat there for like half a day going, I'm not going to read it. Oh my God, I'm so depressed. All the animals are going to be extinct. And then on a podcast or something, it said the extinction wave, and it said, and this will really kick into high gear in 2050. And the first thought was like, who gives a shit? I'll be fucking gone. And it was like, so, and I care about that stuff. I don't have a family to worry about and pills to pay and all this other stuff. So
I think it's kind of like the car mechanic thing, or like, I think it's called moral hazard or whatever. Like, you don't know what you're doing with a car. You don't know anything about it. So you take it to a mechanic and you trust that they're not going to take you for a ride. Yep. And they might or they might not. But you just have to have that trust. I think that's kind of like most people's attitude to politics.
Yeah.
Like,
totally.
I don't
They're
know
like, that person looks friendly. Like, they're not going to fuck me over.
Or even implicitly they think maybe they are, but they're going to fuck me over less than the guy down the street. That's what it is. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think there is a real kind of, there were so many years where, I would superstitiously not look at my bank balance when I withdrew money, because if I didn't look at it, then I didn't withdraw the money.
Oh!
And I think, people do that all the time. Oh, if I don't open the bill, and I never got the bill. Yeah. Even though it's, hey, the second fucking redraw's coming in, the third one, and now the sheriff's on his way.
Yeah, it's the Babadook. It's going to keep showing up at your fucking door.
Oh my God.
And it's, I think there's like that a kind of that's happening on a mass scale now, where it's like, oh man, like it's.
Yeah.
I mean, I've kind of chosen to back away from it all.
I saw this post a while ago from someone, she used to do comedy, I won't name her, but she.
On the podcast, but you certainly will when we're
I
done.
think you'll probably know who I'm talking about anyway. But she posted this thing about how she had depression and mental health issues, and the way that she resolves it was by reframing her perspective from like being quite progressive and like a social justice
I
warrior.
know exactly who you're talking about.
And she's like, when I became conservative, that's when my mental health
yes, I know who that
issues
is.
cleaned up, and now I feel a lot more optimistic and positive. And I was a bit skeptical at first because I was like, yeah, of course. If you stop caring about other people's problems, then you probably, you will.
Why wouldn't you feel?
If you cut out empathy. But then,
I mean, how does it serve us really?
but I mean, I don't know. I think there's a lot of merit to it. I feel like if everyone just sort of focused on themselves and
or their community or their, their circles. I think where we're falling down is, this idea that, it's a very late teens, early 20s mentality to think that you personally
can
stand in front of the fucking Tiananmen Square tank and fucking face it down. It's like, well, maybe you can, but probably not.
Yeah.
Like there were dudes in ancient Egypt going, this fucking pharaoh sucks. They fucking haul bricks.
Yeah.
Guess what? They hauled the bricks and they built, it's been going on and on forever and ever and ever.
Yeah.
It needs to be mass collectivism, but at the moment there's, I don't know.
I think it needs to be both. I think it needs to be what Suren was saying, where it's like being aware of one's needs and being aware of what you can achieve, like within, yourself, with your little community, but also having awareness of the world as a whole, as a strange, moving thing that we are. Like, I think they can both,
Yeah, they can.
But it's pretty hard to like be aware of both or care about both. I mean, God, I had a bad day today and I'm just like, fuck everything.
Yeah.
I do think like a lot of the time you get annoyed at something or angry at
like
someone.
if someone's a fucking dick.
Yeah.
She's had a bad day.
Well, I'm not going to finish my train of thought.
No, please do.
It's not relevant. I think
Are you really not going to finish?
Well, I was going to say, it's going to sound like fucking...
No, please do.
All right. I was going to say a lot of the time the things that annoy you in other people...
Wrong.
Yeah, exactly.
No,
yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
Not in your case, Jen. Right? Not
Thank
today.
you. Ben knows the details.
No. But I would fully agree with that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So when you start to look after yourself, those things become less annoying to you. But Jen, you've got different circumstances.
This is a different situation.
Yeah, very different.
I was thinking it's very complicated. It's very complicated at the moment because we're moving into this kind of like moral fucking not moral subjectivity, whatever that phrase is about. Like there is no objectivity anymore. Everything is just this. If that's how you subjectively perceived it, then that's what it is, and that's the truth. And it's like, well, that serves a purpose to a point, but now we're at this stage where so much is fucking,
I find this shit exhausting.
Well, but this is
so
where
you just find it.
Yeah, it is. It's fucking exhausting.
Yeah,
it is fucking exhausting.
Like,
but this is where it's at.
Who fucking cares? Like, if you feel sad, then shut up and go home.
Yeah.
And have wine in a bath. And bitch to your partner, and they'll say, "Oh, my woman's annoying," and she'll go, "Men are bad listeners," and then we'll carry on as we have for many a generation.
Yeah.
Yell at the kids.
I
Tell
agree.
your mum she's a cow. Just fucking suck it up. Like, I'm so, do you know what I mean?
Yeah. But everyone's pain is legitimate now.
I don't care.
No, you don't. I don't care either.
I can't care. I'm full. Like, I feel like everyone is full.
Yeah,
Do you
yeah.
know what I mean? Like,
Totally. Yeah.
I can't care and feel your pain with everyone else's pain.
Yeah.
There's a reason why they don't show young orphans starving on TV anymore. Because it's not effective.
Yeah.
Because we don't fucking care.
Yeah.
Because we're inundated with, you should care because that guy was offended that you actually looked at him and didn't smile, and that triggered a memory of his father calling him a piss cunt. It's like, I don't have time to fill your void. Fill your own void.
Exactly.
Do you know what I
That's
mean?
why I'm saying everyone's going to...
Fill your own void.
You got to look after yourself. Leave Jen alone.
World, leave Jen alone. No, but it's fucking true because and we're now in this realm where that my subjectivity is objectivity has led to this kind of no one taking responsibility for their own emotional state, and conflating all offense as one homogenous offense where it's not, like there are things that are overtly disgusting and shit, and then there are things that are, kind of annoying or irritating.
Yeah.
And there needs to be delineation. Otherwise, you turn into a fucking, a completely fucking anxiety-ridden person who's triggered by everything.
Yeah, all the speakers are turned up to the same volume.
Exactly.
But that speaker's way more important than the other.
Yeah, we are not equal.
As humans?
No. I am not worth as much as some neuroscientist or some genius who's going to crack the cure for cancer. As a human, I'm just not worth as much. And I'm okay with that. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And I don't actually know. But you know what I'm saying?
Jen your turkey
It's just like...
I agree with you philosophically, but it's the implementation of that philosophy that then becomes troublesome.
Oh, yeah. I'm not saying wipe people out. But I'm just saying, like, let's stop acting as if it's an even
everyone
playing
does
field.
need to get off their fucking, because we are in this age of like, I'm important, my voice is valid, and we all need to realize, no, you're all just shouting into the Grand Canyon. Nothing means anything.
Yeah.
This conversation means nothing. Like, we'll put it on the internet, a few people listening to it, and then it'll be buried under a fucking deluge of content. Like nothing really. But that's something that each individual has to get to, where you reckon with your place on the earth and in the
No, I'm kidding. But you know what I'm saying.
Do you have Suren, do you have like aspirations to be some big fucking dude?
Oh no, not at all.
The Suren Show.
Yeah, like what do you want?
That's what. Yeah, I think it probably would be useful to have an answer to that question. But I reckon if I could just sustain a career doing stand up.
Yeah, that's great.
That's what I'd want to do.
That's great.
Yeah.
I think where people fall down is the, plotting out their, life based on every fucking story they've heard about success.
Yeah, you can, there's probably people who've started writing their autobiography.
Of course, dude. We know like a half a dozen people.
Yeah, which is insane to me.
Yeah.
That's the equivalent of the high school kid knowing that they want to do science.
Yeah.
But it's like, I don't know.
Or the people that live their life as though it's the biographical film about them. It's like, this is the scene where I do the ayahuasca and meet the...
Oh, that stuff is too much.
You know what I mean?
It doesn't, none of that, appeals to me. But then for some reason in Australia, for you to have a career just doing stand-up, you have to kind of be conscious of like, radio or...
Yeah, have a few more strings to your bow.
Yeah. But
don't you feel like there's a way around that in the new... landscape?
You can create your own following.
I feel like I've burnt all my own.
Yeah, well, I've burnt all the bridges and incinerated them. Just a fucking world of ashes.
Fire to a few minutes ago.
I was talking to a friend of ours who had a meeting with a large management agency.
Okay.
And this friend of ours was under the impression that meeting was the precursor to representation. And that's not how it happened.
Yeah.
And, they were justifiably very upset. I think it was one of the first experiences of what a motherfucker this industry can be. They really love promising you something and then cutting your knees out from underneath you and, laughing as you fall face down with your dreams dying. But, like I was saying to her, I think, there's so many ways now, like the Stanhope model of like, if you're good enough and you work hard enough, all you need is 1,000 fans in each major city.
Finding your audience.
Find your audience. It doesn't need to be a big audience, but it's an audience of, better to have 1,000 loyal fans in every city than 1 million ambivalent ones. And then I'm coming to this town on this date, in a 300-seat venue. I think Paul F. Tompkins, that's how he works. Where he just announces that he's going to be in a place, and it's very rarely a comedy club or a theater. It's like just a venue. And I think that is a model that, to me, when I think about comedy, and like, I dip in and out so often now, but it's like if I was to do it properly, that would be the only way I could function.
You're going to next week. We got some gigs together, baby.
No, we're at the casino, baby.
Oh,
ding,
wow.
ding, 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 ding. We're really going to eat shit. But yeah, I think that seems like a very,
And it seems to be there's more people who are kind of starting to make living like sustainable careers without the big agencies.
Well, I guess they've
yeah.
just found their crowd. It's nice.
But
That's great, yeah.
what fucking, I don't know, and I probably sound
good
like an
thing.
old fucking like, it was better when I was young. But it's like the appeal of comedy for me was always like, it was kind of, it's like a band of misfits, or it's a band of weird
But it's
people on
still
different
is
levels.
a band of strange people. Like, it's just bigger in Sydney.
No, but it's become, I feel like it's just become this, not become completely, but it's like a lot of people see just one path forward. And
Yeah.
that path is get represented by one of the two big agencies and then become a minor celebrity on Channel 10, and that'll be so satisfying. And it's like there's never been more avenues to, and to go down that path, you have to shear more and more of your
Yeah.
idiosyncratic
But
nuance
even
away.
those
and-
people, like even the people who a lot of the comics will make fun of and say like they're a cool person or they're a hot guy so they can't do those jokes or like whatever, are still kind of weird and outside.
I'm
I'm not saying they're
Do you know
not
what?
weird.
They're still
No, I'm not
like
saying
a
they're not
bit
weird.
strange.
To me, they're always, that's even more fascinating. I'm like, what happened? Like, what-
You look pretty.
yeah.
No, I still think there's an element of strangeness and weirdness and all that. But I guess, you know, since comedy has become so fucking big, you know, comedy was like a ghettoized fucking art form
Yeah.
10 years ago. Like, really. Like,
I think it's so
It was
weird
pretty
because
aggressive when I
you-
started.
so much of the scene is like influenced by these American like alt comics and
Yeah.
stuff, but there's no market for that really
in Australia.
in Australia.
No.
There's no mainstream market for it,
No,
and there's not even
definitely
like, you know, in America you can tour around different cities and make a
Hey,
career
mate.
Or you can
out
get
of
a,
that.
or you can get an
You can go
Adult
to
Swim
Brizzy?
show or
Yeah.
a Comedy Central show
Yeah.
or, you know, someone
like
like
it-
Eric Andre, if he'd been born in Australia, would not be Eric Andre.
Exactly, yeah.
Well, it
but then
just
so
wouldn't have
you
happened.
you like kind of think, oh, maybe TV is the solution, and then you, but like I saw the ad the other day for that Grant Denyer, what's it called?
Oh, that's
That's a show on Channel 10. Celebrity
as someone who
Heads.
has
What is
written, it's as someone who has written fucking made a living writing game shows for the last 15 years. It's been my bread and butter. This fucking show, it's
What
literally
is it?
a fucking contestant stands in front of a screen and behind them the name of a celebrity goes up
It's
on them.
Celebrity Heads.
And it's celebrity heads and the contestants go,
But it's
okay,
on
he's a
TV.
ranger, he plays the guitar. There's no writing involved, there's no nothing. It's
What a
just
cheap
like
show to make.
yeah, exactly.
That's why
It's just
like,
they've
cost
invented this
nothing.
concept so they don't have to hire any fucking talent, any
Yeah,
writers.
they wouldn't have to pay
It's
anyone.
fucking gross,
That'd be
man.
like milking money.
It's gross.
It's insane though, but that's like so many people are still like, oh, I just got to get on TV. But
why?
why? Yeah, what are you gonna do
Exactly.
with that? Yeah.
It's like in America, it's like, oh, I've got to get on TV because I could be on a fucking cool HBO. I could be on Veep.
Yeah.
Or I could be on fucking Curb Your Enthusiasm. Or I
But
could get a
don't you
guest
think
spot
it's
on.
sort of going the other way for people? Like, I think there's an awareness that's happening. There's an older generation that are smarter. Like I joke about everyone being like, what shit. But if people can achieve happiness in whatever the fuck they're doing, I feel like the older generation has nailed that where they're like, you have joy in small things. And there is a very specific generation that's like, I want to be on TV. But I do feel like that's sort of going back the other way too. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I think.
that's what when I was saying about comfort, like
Yes, finding your own.
My biggest fear is like, oh, we were told you got to chase this dream, and I was told I could do whatever. So I decided, you know what, I am going to try follow this comedy thing.
Yeah.
What if the answer was just to enjoy the small things?
But
And
that's the answer.
Like,
But you
like
can still do that with
my
comedy.
girlfriend's dad is like, oh, a hot shower is one of life's greatest
Yeah.
pleasures.
I agree.
I'm like, yeah, that's true.
A good pillow,
Totally.
man.
If I
a
just
pillow.
appreciated those things
A
more,
bath?
yeah.
That's true.
If you are lucky enough, I don't have a bath now, but I want one. But if you can have a bath, it's just like such a joy.
It's luxury. It is actual. You know,
Podcasts.
I think-
I like legit listen to podcasts. It makes me so happy.
Yeah, so
And clean.
clean.
I'm middle aged.
Oh, okay. I thought you meant the podcast make you feel spiritually
No,
clean.
I
yes,
clean.
I understand. You clean
and
while
listen
listening
to
to
the podcast.
Sure.
Makes me quite happy.
yeah, I got into cooking, and that
Cooking is
Oh,
wonderful.
cooking's
Yeah.
a great joy. Yeah.
I think we've also all got to, you know, especially people pursuing entertainment stuff, need to get, you know, like society, you know, a lot of the reason we're in such a mess environmentally and spiritually and everything is this idea of like exponential growth. Like it's never enough.
But what if this
You
is just
know?
the ride that's meant to happen,
that's
the
what I'm
human
saying.
being ride?
But that's what I'm saying. It's like,
and we're
you
on
know,
the fucked part.
yeah, but that's what I'm saying. No, we are on the fuck.
Yeah, but then
part.
it'll just keep going.
Yeah, we'll keep going, but maybe not maybe it shouldn't.
I had that view because there's that great George Carlin bit about like we're not fucking up the Earth will
Yeah, of
survive
course.
or whatever.
Yeah, the
But
Earth
then-
will always survive.
But then there's also all those people in the fucking Pacific Islands and stuff.
Yeah,
like
the
it's
people and the animals and everything.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, well, that's all the people. Yeah, but that's
that
yeah,
will
that's
happen.
horrible.
Deep
but I
time,
guess,
Suren. Deep time is the way to think. There were giant mammals. There was this fucking
Yes!
half
Yeah,
horse, half
yeah, yeah,
gorilla.
yeah.
He was the king of the fucking earth for a million years, and he
Yeah,
doesn't
woolly
exist anymore.
mammoths, like,
Woolly mammoths,
all of
mastodon.
that
Yeah, but I mean,
stuff,
humans took them out. So let's let you
No,
know.
I know, that's-
mass extinction from the Neanderthals and the humans.
Well, I guess
anyway,
what
the point I was making, exponential growth. Like every business is geared towards like there's never a upper limit. You know what I mean? Like those annoying Funko Pop toys.
Yeah,
Those,
yeah, yeah.
like,
No.
you'd know them if you saw them. It's like they've taken every franchise, every notable character in pop culture history and reduced it into this bland plastic version of itself where it's got two dots and a line for a face.
Okay,
And
I don't know, but it's
you'd
fine,
know it if you
whatever.
saw it. They're
Yeah, yeah,
fucking
yeah.
everywhere. And like it's gotten to such it's obscene. Like you go into Books Kinderkunuya or something and it's just like fucking millions of these pop Funkos, and it's like, oh, it's Frankenfurter from Rocky Horror Picture Show. Like any character you can think of has been represented in plastic, and it's obviously worthwhile because they
Yeah.
sell and blah blah blah.
That is actually, to go back, that is my goal, to one day be a Funko Pop.
Funko But I'm looking at these Funko Pops and I was thinking like the guy that invented this never would have dreamed in a million years that one day there would be literal metric tons of Funk Pop Goes floating in the fucking ocean. These ridiculous toys that it's no different from those Coles minis. It's just landfill. It's just junk. But it's like he can't stop now. It's like a fucking $1 million business. You got to keep going. Got to keep making pop Funkos, like on and on and on. And I feel like we're all like that with our entertainment aspirations or even our career goals. It's like it's never enough. And it's like the year that I was.
Is that this generation?
I think that's everyone at the moment. It's like more likes, more shares, more everything.
But I don't think that's everyone.
Not
I think that's a
everyone.
very specific generation.
I think it's pervasive in the culture.
Because if you look at like my brother-in-law is like 10 years older than me, and the concept of Facebook to him is so offensive. Like, and there's heaps of people his age who have it,
yeah.
and he can't fathom the interest, the joy, anything that social media brings people.
I'm not saying it's completely everyone, but
No,
it
but I
is a
mean
definite.
like specifically
I
a
think there's
certain
two
generation.
things there. I think like our generation does have that. I don't know. We've been grown up in this consumerist world, and it's like experience chasing, and like it's all about
Reach for the
projecting
stars.
your best self or whatever. So there's that. But then also, I just think all creative pursuits have always had that. Because it's so demanding, you're already thinking about the next thing before you get the thing you've been chasing, and so when you get that thing, you're already a step ahead, and you don't allow yourself to take that. Because I don't know. I've listened to other like Will Anderson or whatever say the same thing, and I'm like, really, you must be satisfied.
No, no one's satisfied.
When I was doing my very first solo show at Melbourne Comedy Festival. I was standing in the hallway and there were all the posters of the like different shows on, and the Barry Awards had just been nominated, and the management company came in and they were going to put the stickers on to say their shows were Barry nominated. Mm-hmm. And they looked at the posters, they couldn't find any of their posters, and one of them was like, oh, there's not many of our posters here, and then the other one was like, oh yeah, because of that, and she pointed to this line that said Melbourne Comedy Festival presents, because they produced the international act. So they were like, most of the wall was Melbourne Comedy Festival presents posters. And they were like, and they rolled their eyes. And I was like, man, this is the biggest agency in the country and they feel hard done by. What hope for satisfaction is there for
No, but there isn't because it's
yeah.
more and it's relevance and like, it's like the football star who, is in the fucking Hall of Fame, but and now he's 50 and his knees are fucked and he can't play anymore. But it's like, God, they're gonna forget me. They're gonna forget. Like I experienced that on a minor level. I've barely done comedy for like months, and all of a sudden, like the other night, I got this real like, I wonder if anyone remembers me. I wonder if everyone remembers how good I am. Yeah. Like I better get out. I better get back out there and prove how good I am.
I think
like,
with creative stuff and sport, like so much of it is your identity is tied into the output of what you're doing.
And doing well.
But those
Feeling
other,
like
but
you've
like,
done well.
You've just got a career and a family. Maybe so much of your energy is going into rearing kids.
Or your pride is going into being a stable person or a reliable parent or a good father or a good whatever. Maybe it's gone into something a bit more healthy.
But this dissatisfaction with like the level of your fame could only have been a thing of the last couple of 100 years because ubiquitous fame didn't exist until you know, Chaplin or Mark Twain or something like that. Like, you know, maybe as late 1800s,
and
where
now,
you could be like a phenomenal in your lifetime.
Yeah.
You know, international celebrity.
And then it is exacerbated now because you see people do it from scratch. They just all of a sudden they're fucking 14 million subscribers on YouTube, and they're just a normal person.
Yeah, exactly.
And you're like, oh, so it is possible. Yeah. There must be a whole lot of depressed black people after Obama being like, oh no, now I've got the burden of I could be president as well.
That fame envy, or like. One night I caught myself watching real estate tours of multi-million-dollar Beverly Hills mansions. And I was just sitting, and I watched like 5 in a row of like, and this is the car elevator for your 4 Porsches. It rises to the ground and you can just drive straight out of the garage. It's like this like $800 million fucking mansion. And like, you know, you understand that, you know how like the right wing of America have been, you know, fucking their poor people for so long with that ridiculous dream of like, hey, don't tax billionaires because you could be a billionaire one day.
Yeah.
You know, and you catch yourself thinking that. It's like, oh, if I just did a couple of things right, maybe I could live in that house. And it's like, it's so beyond, you know, what are you going to be, the Sultan of fucking Brunei? You're an idiot. Like, you're going to live in that fucking house.
Yeah.
But, you know, that I think it's there right in front of it. And like you said, you see, there's so many tales now of rags to riches stories, or a dime a dozen now. There's so many of them.
Yeah.
You know, just the normal. Stephanie Meyer. She just wrote a fucking fan fiction of Twilight. She's the woman that wrote fucking 50 Shades of Grey.
Yeah.
And it was a literal blog fan fiction of Twilight, and it becomes a bigger seller than Twilight. And she's a fucking multi-millionaire, terrible writer.
She
fucking
got that
heinous.
sad mummy vibe nailed.
But that's what you realise. To reach that, fuck you. How dare you?
I'm sorry, I
it's
said
fine.
I was
It's fine.
stressed
You've had a bad day.
I'm going to ask you to cut me out of this episode.
No, you've been on fire. What are you talking about?
I'm gonna cut the entire
that genocidal eugenics rant was fucking fantastic.
Cut my whole self out of this podcast. Ben and Suren show.
No, it was fucking great. You got to purge. Bad day. It's nice to not be the one screaming for once.
No, I just had a really bad day. You can see the crying or screaming, so I chose screaming.
Well, I'm glad that you're not pursuing, you know, ubiquitous fame.
Yeah,
it seems like a dead end.
It doesn't really appeal to me. I reckon, you know, people like fear of missing out is like not being at a social thing, or like not being at a festival where you can see everyone's story at the festival.
Yeah.
I reckon my fear of missing out is like, what if all along I was meant to just go sit on a rock and meditate and like leave everything behind? What if that is actually
choice?
I don't think I could ever do it, but I went to a yoga retreat once and they played this video, and it was a documentary about yoga in America and how women were leading the charge of like bringing yoga to the West. And it was anyway, but the lady looked at me because it was me and one other guy at this retreat, and she was like, don't worry, there is also a male perspective in this video, so there's something for you too. And the only male perspective was at the start of the documentary. They were talking about the history of yoga, and they were like, a lot of people said the men just wanted to leave their families behind, and that was it.
Nice.
Like the lion that inseminates the lioness and then fucks off straight away.
Let me feel enlightened. Have you enjoyed doing comedy full time and like being able to dedicate yourself to it, or is it like a tortured joy?
It's both. Sometimes I have to remind myself to just have fun.
Yeah.
But it is. But then there's so much the pressure of once it becomes your job. It's like, oh man, it takes some of the joy out of it.
Well, the fact that it's so inexorably linked with your ego as well, that's the part that I don't know if I could square with myself. You know, it's the part I have not been able to square with myself. Every time I've pursued it, which is why I have to do stuff outside of it and take long breaks away from it, because I have this cycle where I get back in, I'm like, I'm doing it exactly how I want to do it, and things go well, and then I get a little bit of like, oh, you know, I am good at this. And then that immediately starts triggering a fucking, well, you know, this could lead to this. And like I did this festival show last year, and it was the first time I'd done in years. And I was so proud of myself over the concept. And every time I trialed a bit of the material, you know, comics were like, that's sick. And I was like, yeah, everyone's going to come to the show and it's going to be a big hit. And I've got a really good quote from a famous comic. That'll fucking get the people in. No one came. No one gave a shit.
Yeah.
And it was just like, you know, and nor should they. It's just like, well, of course, it's just the thing you're doing. It means a lot to you. It doesn't, but other people's things mean a lot to them and they're focused on that. But, you know, like, the bitterness and the disappointment kicks in so hard that it's like, oh, I have a very unhealthy relationship with this. And I talk the talk. Yeah. And I
worry that I had a gig, I can't remember what night it was, but I had a gig and it went like average. And I was just like brewing on it for so long, like, fuck, I shouldn't have done that and I should have done this. And I was so stuck on it. And then I went home and I was like, oh, I've got to go to bed because I've got to be up at 8. And then I got up at 8 and the day started and I forgot about it. And I had another gig and it was really fun. And it was like, again, like a bit better than average where new stuff went really well. And then I tried old shit and the audience could fucking tell. And they were like, nah, she's checked out. But it was still fun. But I remember thinking like, okay, I'm sort of happy that I had that distraction because knowing me, if I didn't, I would be at home like, why didn't that work? What did I do different? What could have? And I would have just obsessed on it. And then I would have been like, oh my God, are they going to book me again? Oh my God, am I going to be able to do it again? And then it would have just turned into this whole fucking thing where I think I function better if I'm a distracted human being.
Yeah, I think anyone who's
I need to be busy.
Wired like you needs to be distracted.
And also,
busy gal.
I don't know. I feel like everyone who seems to like crack through, it's when they stop caring, kind of.
Yeah, but it's like not caring. Not caring is such a fucking. It's such a razor's edge because I feel I feel like I'm funniest on stage when I genuinely don't give a shit. Like genuinely don't give a shit.
Yeah, when you're just like, look,
when
I'm gonna have fun.
Fuck you, and like abusing the audience for laughing too loud. Like, how dare you? Your laughter is an insult to me. Like, I don't need you. I'm here for me. But then they react.
Can I just say? In my head, I was like, yeah, like when you want to have fun. And Ben's like, when you're like, fuck you.
But that is fun to me.
I don't give a fuck.
That is fun to me, standing in front of 300 people and telling them how much I fucking hate them. Because I do. But the problem is the not caring, you're never funnier than when you don't care. If you're already proficient at comedy.
Or when you're just comfortable.
When you're comfortable and you don't
skin.
give a shit and you're just like being funny. But then it's the killing from the not caring makes you care, and it's this awful like.
I like
catch-22.
to just feel at ease and like I'm connecting with people, which is so lame, but I do. Like if I'm super chilled out and I feel like I'm like connecting with the crowd, I'm like, we're hanging. This is so fun.
That's sweet.
I don't feel angry.
I've got a fucking room full of friendly stranger friends.
Yeah, and then we don't talk. I go home. Everyone's happy. Read a book. Bedtime.
Well, once again, it feels like we've solved all the mysteries of life.
We'll heavily edit this, Suren, don't worry.
No. We're not editing any of it.
We're editing me straight out.
No. We're gonna slow down your rant so it's like in that.
Play it backwards.
I never said eugenics.
No, I know. It was
You
just heavily
said
implied.
eugenics.
It was fine. Suren, where can people find you on the internet?
I am on Instagram at Suren Comedy. I also have a podcast of my own that I do with Ben Caution. He's been on this, I think.
Yeah, he did a live show with us.
Live show.
Very funny.
It's called Benny and Sereni, and it's a fake talkback radio show.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Cool.
Listen to Benny and Sereni.
Yeah, please do.
Thank you, Suren.
Thanks for having me.
Suren. Wait, Benny. What should we call this episode, Sereni? What's the word?
Oh.
You can pick it for us. You don't have to. It ain't going to be money or anger.
I was going to think it was money.
Money?
Well, we talked about money for ages.
Yeah, it could be money or eugenics.
Yeah,
No, money!
Eugenics.
Money with Surrender!
Jen Carnovale's fascistic ideology.
Thank you for listening to our podcast.
Thank you.